Okay, so I just put on this tint. You can kind of see the reflection, but that's probably a little better view of the tint. And this is what they look like without the tint for the backup lights. So I'm going to put these on. A couple things I'm going to do is I'm going to take, well, actually I already did. I took this razor blade and I just scraped. There's like little gate marks. There's one here and there's one here. And I just very gently just dragged it up and down over the surface. Let's see if I can do this. Got a little bit of grip on it, but basically I just went like this. And I want to get off high spots. There's actually a little low because it's a what they call a valve gate. So there's a little depression that's round, but you'll see like a little bit sticking out. And you want to just scrape that off ever so gently. And you can see like, maybe you can see like where I've taken the shine off a little bit with the razor blade, but I didn't make marks in it or grooves. Very important. And then here, you can't even tell where they are. So you probably can see the little circle, but you won't see that something sticking up will hold the will hold it away. So now I'm going to take basically in here. So in here I've got a little bowl and I just put a little Dawn in it, a little bit of water, and I made sure the bowl is super clean. My fingers are super clean. I got plenty of things to stay clean. I cut these around a little bit more than the edge just to see that they fit properly and they would cover everything before I put them on and find out they didn't fit. So basically I'm going to take this off and I'm going to put a little bit of water, a little bit of the soapy water on this, and then I'm going to dip this in the soapy water, and I'm going to take it and I'm going to move this around and place it in place, and then I'm going to wipe the edges with my fingers a little bit, and then I'll take a paper towel and I'll wipe out more of the thing, and then once I kind of got it really stuck down, I'm going to press like a little bit harder with the paper towel over these. So these are super clean. Cleaned any little, made sure there's anything sticking up that's not sticking up. It will have this little tiny mark here, but I've scraped off what sticks up because that holds the film away from the light, and that's worse than actually having a little circle. If you really wanted to, maybe you could put something in there and fill it. It's clear, but I wouldn't go that far, probably mess up the light. So that's it. I'm gonna take this, put a little soapy water, dip this in the soapy water and that. I'm just going to take my fingers and dip it in that and just rub it across here. Right away I'll take this off. I'll kind of fold an edge back so I'm ready. As soon as I get that a little wet, and then dip this in, and then I'm going to put it on and place it and move it around, and then I'll wipe it down. Okay, so I got this one on too, or actually both of the other side on. So what I forgot to mention is get a little bit of soapy water on your fingers when you peel this off of the paper. And that's so that you don't leave a fingerprint on the inside of this. So it's pretty easy. You dip your fingers in there, get it on here liberally, get this pre-ready to peel off the corner, and then take it, peel this off, make sure your fingers are wet again, and then dip the whole thing right in this. There's only a few drops of Dawn to a very little bit of liquid. You don't need a ton. And then basically I placed it on. As long as you have a liberal amount of dish soap on here, soapy water, you'll be able to move this quite a bit. So I'm going to peel it off. If it really gets dry because you're really having a hard time, dip it again, keep this wet, because you'll be able to move it as long as you want while it's wet. And then what I did was I just took a paper towel, and first I did with my fingers. I went to the outside and to the outside, so I didn't pick this up and move it. So I went outside to outside with my fingers, got it kind of in place, got it so it looked quite flat, and then I took this and started wiping off like this to get off the excess soapy water, right? I think I'm going to hit this with the heat gun just very, very gently. Just get a little heat just to make sure I get a little more of that, adhesive working in there so it doesn't peel off. It probably takes very little. You probably can melt this stuff like nothing. So I'd probably just be way back here with the heat gun, not putting a lot of heat, just kind of warm it and feel it, warm it and feel it, and make sure I'm not getting too hot. And again, don't go like this here or like this inside here, because you'll peel that edge up. It's not really on there perfectly well. You could still remove this, dip it, and readjust it if you wanted to. So that's it. Talk to you later. Okay, that looks a lot better. I'll get the wifey to help me video maybe when I do these to get those cleaned up too, but looks a lot better than the bright red. Okay, so part 3. So what I did was I took my heat gun, I'll show you in a second, and I just went back and forth with the heat, and then I noticed after, with a little bit of heat, I noticed like a couple little air bubbles, and I just rubbed with my finger, and they just rubbed right out. So what's happening, I believe, is that if there's any air in behind here, when you hit it with a little heat, the air expands, makes a little bit bigger bubble that you can actually see it, and then you just drive it out with your finger, nice and gentle and easy. Just bring it to the outside, just like that if you find one. I got them all out, so I used a heat gun, but what I did was I stayed probably about 8-10 inches away, and I just went back and forth, right? Back and forth, back and forth. Do that a few times, and then I just kind of put my finger on it a little bit, and it's warm. I'd probably do that one more time, and then that would be good. And then I just look for any bubbles, work them out, and that's it. So a couple of times with the heat. You want it to be warm but not hot, and you do not want to stop any place locally because you will just melt that stuff quickly. So that's it. That'll help you kind of finish it up. It'll probably, you're driving that moisture out from the soap and all, so they're probably going to stick much better now, like less likely for something to just touch it and lift up an edge and get dirt under it or whatever. So they're probably pretty much on there now. I would probably have to use a little heat to get them off, which is the way you get them off. But that's it. I really like it.